The space around Earth was quiet until it was not. Admiral Cathara watched through the massive windows of her command ship as hundreds of Zephyrian warships dropped out of hyperspace. The fleet stretched across the dark void like a wall of metal and death. Each ship was bigger than any building on Earth. Their weapons could turn entire planets into dust. Cathara was tall even for her people. Her scales were dark green with silver edges that caught the light from distant stars. She had destroyed 12 worlds in her career. Earth would be lucky number 13. The reports from her scouts made her laugh. This little blue planet had nothing that could hurt them. "Admiral, we are in position," her second officer said. His voice was deep and rough like grinding rocks. "The humans have detected us." "Good," Cathara replied. "Send them our message. Give them the same choice we give everyone. Submit or die." Far below on Earth's surface, Captain Lisa Martinez sat in the command center of the Earth Defense Force. The room was filled with screens, showing data from around the planet. Red lights blinked everywhere. The computers were going crazy with warnings. Lisa had been waiting for this day her whole life, but she still felt cold fear in her stomach. "Captain, we have an incoming transmission." "From the alien fleet," her communications officer said. The young woman's hands shook as she worked her controls. "Put it on the main screen," Lisa ordered. The image that appeared made everyone in the room step back. Admiral Cathara filled the screen. Her yellow eyes looked like burning suns. When she spoke, her voice was like ice. "Humans of Earth. I am Admiral Cathara of the Zephyrian Empire. Your world is now part of our territory. You have 72 hours to surrender completely. Open your planet to our forces. Give us your leaders. Accept our rule. If you refuse, we will destroy every city, every building, every person on your world. This is not a negotiation. This is your only warning." The transmission ended. The command center was silent, except for the humming of computers. Lisa looked around at her staff. They all looked scared, but they also looked determined. They had trained for this moment. "Send a reply," Lisa said. "Tell them we need time to consider their offer." While the message was being sent, Lisa thought about everything that had led to this moment. Earth looked weak from space. The aliens could see only a few space stations and some old-looking ships. They could not see the truth. They could not see what humanity had really built. In another part of the world, in a forest that looked completely normal, Ilara Moonwhisper stood among the tall trees. She looked human, except for her pointed ears and eyes that seemed to hold starlight. She was an elf, but not from Earth. Her people came from a world called Etheria, far across the galaxy. Ilara had been living on Earth for 10 years. She came as an ambassador from her people. The elves had been watching humanity for a long time. They were impressed by how quickly humans learned and adapted. They were amazed by human creativity and stubbornness. When the elves offered friendship, humanity accepted. Now Ilara watched the alien fleet through a special crystal that let her see across vast distances. She counted the ships and studied their weapons. The Zephyrians were powerful, but they were also arrogant. They thought they knew everything about their enemies. They were wrong. Ilara touched a small device on her wrist. It looked like a simple bracelet, but it was actually a communication tool that worked across the stars. She spoke quietly in the musical language of her people. "High Council, this is Ilara. The Zephyrians have arrived at Earth. They have given humanity 72 hours to surrender. I recommend we begin preparations immediately." The reply came quickly. "Understood, Ambassador. The fleet is ready. We await your signal." Back in space, Admiral Cathara studied the reports from her scanning teams. Earth had about 8 billion people. They had nuclear weapons, but only old ones. Their space technology was basic. Their fastest ships were slower than Zephyrian cargo vessels. Their biggest weapons could barely scratch the armor of a single Zephyrian fighter. "This will be easier than I thought," Cathara said to her officers. "Prepare the bombardment fleet. We will start with their major cities. When they see half their population burning, the rest will surrender quickly." What Cathara did not know was that deep under the Earth's surface, massive machines were starting to wake up. In hidden bases carved from solid rock, weapons that combined human engineering with elven magic were powering up. On the moon, inside what looked like mining equipment, rail guns the size of skyscrapers were turning toward the alien fleet. Colonel. Amy Rodriguez walked through one of these hidden bases. The tunnels went on for miles. They were filled with soldiers, scientists, and technicians who had been preparing for this day for decades. Amy had helped design many of the weapons they would use. She knew exactly how powerful they were. "Status report," Amy said to Dr. Maya Patel, the lead scientist. "All systems are green," Maya replied. "The power cores are at full capacity. The targeting computers have locked onto every ship in their fleet. The Elven enhancement crystals are responding perfectly. We are ready." Amy nodded. "How long do we need?" 5 minutes, Maya said with a smile. "Maybe less." As the 72-hour deadline approached, both sides prepared for war. The Zephyrians moved their ships into attack positions. They were confident and relaxed. They had done this many times before. Earth looked helpless. But deep in the hidden places of Earth and Moon, humans and their elven allies made final preparations. They checked weapons that the galaxy had never seen. They reviewed plans that had taken years to perfect. They prepared to show the universe that sometimes the smallest planet could have the biggest surprises. Admiral Kethara looked at Earth one last time before the attack. The blue and green world looked so peaceful, so defenseless. In a few hours, it would be just another burned rock in space, another victory for the Empire. She had no idea that in 5 minutes her empire would cease to exist. The 72 hours were almost over. Admiral Kethara stood on the bridge of her flagship, watching Earth grow larger on the screens. Her fleet of 300 warships moved into attack formation. Each ship carried enough firepower to level a continent. The humans had not responded to her final demand for surrender. "Begin the attack," Kethara ordered. "Start with their largest cities. Make it quick and brutal. I want the survivors to know the price of defying the Empire." Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Colonel Amy Rodriguez entered her command code into the Master Control System. The hidden base around her had been built over 20 years. It was one of 12 such bases around the world. Each one was powered by technology that mixed human science with elven magic. "Activation sequence complete," Amy announced to her team. "All stations report ready." Dr. Maya Patel sat at the weapons control station. Her fingers moved across controls. That looked like they came from a science fiction movie. Crystals from the elven homeworld glowed with soft blue light. These crystals could store and focus energy in ways that human science was still learning to understand. "Power levels at maximum," Maya reported. "All weapon systems are online. The elven enhancement modules are working perfectly." Around the world, similar scenes played out in 11 other hidden bases. Each base controlled a network of weapons hidden in what looked like normal buildings, communication towers, and mining equipment. The aliens had scanned Earth many times, but they saw only what humans wanted them to see. On the Moon, inside what the Zephyrians thought was a simple mining complex, Lieutenant Kelly Thompson made final checks on her fighter squadron. The hangar was carved deep into the lunar rock. 60 fighters sat ready for launch. Each fighter was small and fast, built with human engineering and powered by elven energy cores. "Alpha Squadron, this is Kelly," she spoke into her helmet radio. "Final systems check. Remember your training. These ships can do things that no fighter in the galaxy can do. Trust your instincts and trust your machines." The fighters looked different from any ship ever built. They were sleek and organic in EA shape, like they had grown instead of being built. The hulls were made from a metal that humans had learned to make with elven help. It was stronger than anything the Zephyrians had ever seen. Back on Earth, in the hidden forest base, Alara Moonwhisper stood in a circle with 5 other elves. They had arrived on Earth in secret over the past few days. Each one was a warrior mage, trained in both combat and the ancient magical arts of their people. "Sisters," Alara said in their musical language, "the time has come. Our human friends need our help. Are you ready to show the galaxy what happens when you threaten the innocent?" Other elves nodded. Their eyes began to glow with inner light. Around them, the air started to shimmer as they prepared to use magic that most aliens thought was just a myth. High above Earth's atmosphere, the Zephyrian fleet began their attack. Beam weapons and missile launchers targeted major cities. Admiral Kethara expected to see the first explosions within minutes. Then the humans would panic and surrender. Instead, something impossible happened. The first Zephyrian weapons had barely left their ships when Earth's hidden defenses activated. What looked like communication satellites suddenly unfolded into weapon platforms. Railguns that had been disguised as radio towers swiveled toward the alien fleet. On the moon, the mining complex opened like a flower, revealing massive cannons that had been hidden for decades. "What is happening?" Kithara shouted as her tactical displays filled with warning signals. "Where are those weapons coming from?" Her weapons officer stared at his screens in shock. "Admiral, I am reading massive energy signatures from the planet. Surface. There are weapon systems everywhere. How did we miss them?" The answer was simple. The humans had learned from their elven friends how to hide things in plain sight. Every radar dish could also be a weapon targeting system. Every power plant was also a weapons charging station. Every communication tower was also a railgun in disguise. Dr. Maya Patel pressed the firing button. Around the world, her 11 colleagues did the same. In that instant, weapons that had been hidden for decades revealed themselves. The night sky over Earth lit up as hundreds of energy beams and projectiles raced toward the alien fleet. The first wave of fire struck the Zephyrian ships before they could react. Their shields, designed to stop conventional weapons, failed against the hybrid human-elf technology. Ships that had seemed invincible moments before started exploding in brilliant flashes of light. "Impossible," Admiral Kethara whispered. Their technology readings showed primitive weapons only. What she did not understand was that humans were very good at making things look different than they really were. The weapons hitting her fleet used principles that Zephyrian science had never discovered. Human creativity combined with elven magical knowledge had produced something entirely new. On the moon, Kelly Thompson launched her fighter squadron. The 60 ships shot out of the hidden hangar like silver bullets. Each fighter was equipped with weapons that could phase in and out of normal space. They could appear behind an enemy ship, fire, and disappear before return fire could reach them. "This is Alpha Squadron," Kelly announced over the radio. "We are in the fight, targeting the command ships first." The fighters moved in ways that seemed to violate the laws of physics. They could turn without slowing down, accelerate without visible propulsion, and disappear from sensors while still firing their weapons. The elven magic woven into their systems gave them abilities that no conventional technology could match. Admiral Kethara watched in growing horror as her fleet fell apart around her. Ships that had conquered star systems were being destroyed by fighters smaller than their escape pods. Weapons from the planet below were cutting through her heaviest armor like it was made of paper. "All ships, emergency retreat," she ordered. "Fall back to jump distance." But even retreat was not possible. The humans had planned for that too. As the surviving Zephyrian ships tried to run, new contacts appeared on the sensors. Ships that had been invisible suddenly became visible all around the alien fleet. The elven fleet had been waiting in hidden dimensions, watching and preparing. Now they revealed themselves. 50 elven warships materialized around the confused and damaged Zephyrian force. These ships looked more like living creatures than machines, their hulls curved and flowing like the bodies of sea creatures. Elara smiled as she felt the arrival of her people's fleet. High Priestess Sylviana Starweaver was leading them personally. The most powerful mage warrior of her generation had come to help protect Earth. The battle was no longer a battle. It was a demonstration. The combined human-elven force attacked with precision and overwhelming power. Every shot found its target. Every maneuver was perfectly coordinated. The Zephyrians had walked into a trap decades in the making. In less than 5 minutes, the mighty Zephyrian fleet was reduced to burning wreckage and surrender signals. Ships that had terrorized the galaxy were now begging for mercy from the primitive humans they had come to conquer. Admiral Kethara sat in her command chair, staring at the tactical display in disbelief. Her invasion force was gone. Her empire's reputation was shattered. And worst of all, she had no idea how it had happened so quickly. She was about to learn that underestimating humanity was the last mistake the Zephyrian Empire would ever make. Admiral Kethara gripped the arms of her command chair as her flagship shuddered under weapons fire. Around her, the bridge crew worked frantically at their stations, but their faces showed only terror and confusion. The invasion of Earth was supposed to be easy. Instead, it had become a nightmare. "Status report," Cathara demanded, her voice cracking with stress. "We have lost 230 ships," her tactical officer reported. "The remaining vessels are scattered and taking heavy damage. Our weapons are having minimal effect on their defenses." Through the bridge windows, Cathara could see the burning remains of her once mighty fleet. Ships that had been the pride of the Zephyrian Empire were now twisted metal floating in space. The humans and their elven allies were destroying everything, with weapons that seemed to come from nowhere. On Earth's surface, Dr. Maya Patel watched her targeting computers track every remaining alien ship. The weapon systems she controlled were spread across 3 continents, but they all responded to her commands as if they were a single machine. The elven crystals made it possible to coordinate attacks across vast distances instantly. "Target the heavy cruisers next," Maya told her team. "Focus fire on their command sections. We want them alive, if possible, but we need them unable to fight." The hidden railguns fired again. Projectiles accelerated to incredible speeds by magnetic fields and elven energy enhancement crossed the space between Earth and the alien fleet in seconds. When they hit, they punched through armor that could normally stop nuclear weapons. Lieutenant Kelly Thompson led her fighter squadron in another attack run. Her small ship danced between the much larger alien vessels, appearing and disappearing as the elven phase drive systems kicked in. Behind her, 59 other fighters followed the same impossible flight pattern. "Alpha 7, I have a clear shot on their flagship," one of her pilots reported over the radio. "Negative," Kelly replied. "Damage only. We want their command staff intact for questioning. Hit their weapons and engines, but leave the bridge alone." The fighter squadron split up and attacked from 12 different directions at once. Their weapons, powered by the same hybrid technology as the planet-based systems, cut through the flagship's defenses like they were made of glass. Within seconds, Admiral Cathara's ship was helpless, floating dead in space. In the forest on Earth, Alara and her fellow elves raised their hands toward the sky. They spoke words in their ancient language that made the air around them glow with silver light. The magic they were using was older than most civilizations in the galaxy. "Sisters, link your power with mine," Alara said. "Let us show these invaders what happens when they threaten our human friends." The 6 elves joined their magic together. Above them, space itself began to change. Gravity wells formed around clusters of alien ships, crushing them with invisible force. Other ships found themselves trapped in bubbles of altered time, where their weapons moved too slowly to be effective. High Priestess Sylviana Starweaver commanded the elven fleet from her flagship. The ship looked like it was made of living crystal and flowing water. Its weapons were not the energy beams or missiles that most spacefaring races used. Instead, they fired concentrated magic that could affect matter at the most basic level. "Focus on the ships trying to escape," Sylviana ordered her captains. "None of them must be allowed to return to their empire with news of our capabilities." The elven warships moved like dolphins, swimming through an ocean of stars. They could accelerate and turn in ways that violated everything the Zephyrians knew about space combat. When they fired their weapons, enemy ships simply ceased to exist, their atoms scattered to become cosmic dust. Colonel Amy Rodriguez monitored the battle from her underground command center. Displays showed the location of every ship, every weapon, every explosion. The coordination between human and elven forces was perfect. Years of joint training and shared technology had created something the galaxy had never seen before. "How long since the battle started?" Amy asked her communications officer. 4 minutes and 37 seconds, Colonel," Amy smiled grimly. "We are ahead of schedule. The plan had always been to end the fight in 5 minutes or less. Longer battles gave enemies time to adapt and call for help. Quick, overwhelming victories sent a different message to the galaxy. It said that Earth was not just defended, it was protected by forces that could destroy any threat rapidly and completely. Admiral Cathara tried to understand what was happening to her fleet. The reports from her surviving ships made no sense. Human fighters that could become invisible, weapons that fired gravity itself, ships that moved like living things and fired magic instead of energy beams. "Admiral, we are receiving a communication from the human forces," her communications officer reported. "Put it on screen," Cathara ordered. Captain Lisa Martinez appeared on the bridge display. She was sitting calmly in her command chair, looking relaxed despite the massive battle raging around her planet. Behind her, human and elven officers worked together at control stations. "Admiral Cathara," Lisa said politely. "This is Captain Martinez of the Earth Defense Force. I am offering you and your surviving crews the chance to surrender. Your fleet is beaten. Your ships are helpless. You can choose to die fighting, or you can choose to live and learn." Cathara looked around her bridge. Half the control stations were dead or sparking. Her weapons were offline. Her engines were destroyed. Through the windows, she could see that fewer than 20 of her ships were still functional, and those were surrounded by human and elven vessels. "What are your terms?" Cathara asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Complete surrender," Lisa replied. "Your ships, your weapons, your crews. In return, you will be treated as prisoners of war according to the Galactic Conventions. You will be fed, housed, and cared for until this conflict is resolved." It was a better offer than Cathara had given to any of the worlds she had conquered. The humans were offering mercy to an enemy who had come to destroy them. It was a concept that the Zephyrian Empire had forgotten long ago. "I accept your terms," Cathara said. Around the solar system, the surviving Zephyrian ships powered down their weapons and activated their distress beacons. The mighty invasion fleet that had arrived to conquer Earth was now a collection of broken ships begging for help from their intended victims. Dr. Maya Patel shut down the weapon systems one by one. The railguns retracted into their hiding places. The energy cannons folded back into their disguised positions. Within minutes, Earth's surface looked peaceful and defenseless again. Only the wreckage in space gave any hint of what had just happened. Kelly Thompson led her squadron back to their hidden base on the moon. As the fighters landed, their elven-enhanced systems automatically began recharging and repairing themselves. The pilots climbed out of their cockpits with huge grins on their faces. "How do you feel?" Kelly asked her youngest pilot, a woman who had just experienced her first real space battle. "Like we just rewrote the rules of warfare," the pilot replied. Kelly nodded. "That is exactly what we did. The battle was over. In exactly 5 minutes, the Zephyrian Empire had gone from confident conquerors to defeated prisoners. Their reputation as an unstoppable force was shattered. More importantly, every other aggressive civilization in the galaxy was about to learn that Earth was protected by powers they could not imagine. Admiral Cathara sat in her ruined command chair and wondered how everything had gone so wrong so quickly. She had attacked what looked like a defenseless world, and instead had discovered a military force that combined impossible technologies with tactical brilliance. As human and elven ships moved in to take control of her fleet, Cathara realized that this was not just a military defeat. This was the end of the Zephyrian Empire as a galactic power. No one would ever fear them again after word spread about how quickly and completely they had been beaten by the primitive humans of Earth. Captain Lisa Martinez stepped aboard Admiral Cathara's flagship 3 hours after the battle ended. The once proud Zephyrian command ship was now dark and cold, its power systems barely functioning. Human and elven engineering teams were working to keep life support running for the defeated crew. Lisa walked through corridors lined with surrendered Zephyrian soldiers. They stared at her with a mixture of fear and confusion. Most of them had never seen a human before today. Now they had been completely defeated by this small woman and her people in just 5 minutes. When Lisa reached the bridge, she found Admiral Cathara sitting alone in her command chair. The alien leader looked older than she had during their first communication. Her scales had lost their shine, and her eyes no longer burned with confidence. "Admiral," Lisa said politely, "I am here to formally accept your surrender and discuss what happens next." Cathara looked up slowly. "How did you do it? Our intelligence said your people had primitive technology. Our sensors showed no advanced weapons. How did you hide an entire fleet and weapons system from our scans?" Lisa smiled and gestured toward one of her companions. "I think Dr. Patel can explain that better than I can." Dr. Maya Patel stepped forward. She was carrying a small device that looked like a simple tablet computer. When she touched the screen, it projected a holographic display showing Earth's hidden defense network. "Your scans were not wrong, Admiral," Maya explained. "They showed exactly what we wanted them to show. Every weapon system on Earth has 2 functions. Our communication satellites really do send messages. They also target enemy ships. Our mining equipment really does dig tunnels. It also houses massive rail guns. Our power plants really do generate electricity. They also charge weapons that can destroy fleets. The hologram showed layer after layer of hidden systems. Weapons built into mountains, space platforms disguised as research stations, fighter, bases carved into asteroids. The entire solar system was one giant trap that had taken decades to build. But the technology, Cathara protested. Those weapons used principles our science has never seen. How did a primitive world develop such advanced systems? Before Maya could answer, another figure stepped onto the bridge. Ilara Moonwhisper moved with the graceful stride of her people. Her pointed ears and glowing eyes immediately identified her as non-human, but she was clearly not Zephyrian either. Because they were not alone, Ilara said in perfect Zephyrian. My people have been allies with humanity for many years. We shared our knowledge freely because we recognized something special in the human spirit. Cathara stared at the elf in shock. The Etherian elves are real? We thought your people were myths, legends told by primitive cultures. We prefer to let others think that, Ilara replied. It makes our work easier when aggressive species like yours ignore us. But we have been watching the galaxy for thousands of years. We choose our friends carefully. High Priestess Sylviana Starweaver entered the bridge at that moment. She was tall even for an elf, with silver hair that seemed to move in a wind that no one else could feel. When she spoke, her voice carried the authority of centuries. We chose humanity because they reminded us of ourselves when we were young, Sylviana said. Curious, brave, protective of the innocent. When we offered them friendship, they did not ask what they could gain. They asked what they could give in return. Captain Martinez nodded. The alliance was built on mutual respect, not conquest. Your empire takes what it wants from others. We learn to work together and share knowledge. That is why our technology seems impossible to you. It comes from two different ways of understanding the universe. Dr. Patel activated another hologram. This one showed the battle that had just ended, but from the perspective of someone who understood what was really happening. The seemingly impossible maneuvers and weapons effects were broken down into their component technologies. Human engineering provides reliability and adaptability, Maya explained. Elven magic provides power and capabilities beyond normal physics. Together, they create systems that are more powerful than either could build alone. Admiral Cathara watched the tactical breakdown with growing understanding. The defeat of her fleet had not been luck or some unknown superweapon. It had been the result of careful planning, superior cooperation, and technologies that combined. The best of two civilizations. How long have you been preparing for this? Cathara asked. 23 years, Lisa replied. Ever since our first contact with the elves. They warned us that aggressive empires like yours existed. They offered to help us prepare defenses. We accepted. Colonel Amy Rodriguez joined the group on the bridge. She had come up from her underground command center to see the defeated enemy leader for herself. In her hands, she carried a data pad, containing the complete specifications of Earth's defense network. This is what your empire was really attacking, Amy said, showing the data to Cathara. Not a primitive world with simple weapons, but a fortress that has been under construction for over 2 decades. Every human settlement, every space station, every piece of equipment was designed with defense in mind. The datapad showed the true scope of Earth's preparations. Hidden factories that could build warships in weeks instead of years. Training facilities where human and elven instructors taught new forms of warfare. Research centers where the two civilizations worked together to push the boundaries of science and magic. Your people must be very wealthy to afford such preparations, Cathara said. Ilara laughed, the sound like silver bells. That is another difference between your empire and our alliance. We did not build these defenses by enslaving conquered worlds or stealing resources. We built them through cooperation and shared sacrifice. Sylviana nodded. Every human contributed something. Every elf gave freely of their knowledge. When beings work together toward a common goal, they can accomplish far more than any dictator commanding slaves. Captain Martinez checked her watch. Admiral, I need to inform you about what happens next. News of this battle is already spreading across the galaxy. Other civilizations know that the mighty Zephyrian Empire was defeated in 5 minutes by a world they thought was defenseless. Cathara felt a cold chill run through her body. What will happen to my empire? That depends on what your people choose to do next, Lisa replied. Your fleet is destroyed, but your worlds are still intact. You can choose to continue your aggressive expansion and face other civilizations who are no longer afraid of you. Or you can choose a different path. Dr. Patel projected another hologram, this one showing star maps of the local galaxy. Red markers showed worlds that the Zephyrian Empire had conquered. Blue markers showed free civilizations. Green markers showed the locations of the new Human-Elven Alliance. Many of the worlds your empire conquered are already declaring independence, Maya explained. They know you no longer have the fleet to enforce your rule. Some of them are asking for our protection. Admiral Kithara studied the map in silence. The empire she had served her entire life was falling apart in real time. Dozens of worlds were slipping away from Zephyrian control. The reputation for invincibility that had held the empire together was gone. What do you want from us? Kithara asked finally. Peace, Lisa said simply. Stop conquering other worlds. Release the ones you currently hold. Join the galactic community as equals instead of trying to rule it as tyrants. And if we refuse, Ilara stepped forward, then you will discover that the Human-Elven Alliance is not just defensive. We are prepared to liberate every world your empire has enslaved. Today we showed you what happens when you attack us. Tomorrow we can show you what happens when we attack you. The bridge fell silent as Admiral Kithara considered her options. Her empire had been built on fear and superior firepower. Both were gone now. The humans and elves had demonstrated that they could destroy any Zephyrian force sent against them. But they were also offering something the Zephyrian Empire had never experienced, the chance to survive defeat with dignity and tact. It was an alien concept to a civilization built on conquest, but it might be the only path forward. I will need to communicate with the Imperial Council, Kithara said finally. Of course, Lisa replied. You will have full access to communication systems. But Admiral, I suggest you communicate quickly. Every hour you delay, more of your subject worlds slip away. Soon there may not be much of an empire left to save. 6 months had passed since the 5-minute war that changed the galaxy forever. Admiral Lisa Martinez, recently promoted after the victory, stood on the bridge of humanity's first Dreadnought-class starship. The UES Harmony was unlike any vessel ever built, combining human engineering, elven magic, and technology freely shared by grateful alien civilizations. Through the massive viewport, Lisa could see Earth growing larger as the ship approached home. The blue and green world looked the same as always, but everything around it had changed. Where once there had been only a few small space stations, now there was a bustling hub of interstellar activity. Ships from dozens of different worlds came and went constantly. The former subjects of the Zephyrian Empire had eagerly joined the new Galactic Defense Alliance. Species that had lived in fear for generations were now free to explore, trade, and grow without the threat of conquest hanging over them. Admiral, we are receiving a priority communication from the Galactic Council, her communications officer reported. Put it on screen, Lisa replied. The image that appeared showed a conference room filled with representatives from 47 different civilizations. At the center sat Ilara Moonwhisper, now serving as the permanent ambassador between Earth and the growing alliance. Her unique position as an elf who understood human culture made her invaluable in the complex negotiations required to manage such a diverse group. Admiral Martinez, Ilara said with a warm smile. Perfect timing. We were just discussing the latest applications for Alliance membership. 3 more systems have requested protection from the remaining Zephyrian forces. Lisa nodded. The Zephyrian Empire had not collapsed completely after their defeat, but it had broken into dozens of smaller factions. Some had chosen to reform and join the galactic community peacefully. Others continued their aggressive ways, preying on weaker civilizations. The Alliance spent much of its time protecting worlds from these remnant forces. What is the current status of the Kepler system? Lisa asked. Last I heard, the local Zephyrian warlord was demanding tribute from the mining colonies there. Already handled, replied General Amy Rodriguez, appearing on another part of the screen. She was speaking from the bridge of the Alliance fleet that patrolled the outer territories. We arrived yesterday. The warlord took one look at our ships and decided to find somewhere else to try his luck. The reputation of the Human-Elven Alliance had grown far beyond what their actual military strength might suggest. Most aggressive, civilizations chose to avoid confrontation rather than risk the kind of devastating defeat that had befallen the original Zephyrian invasion force. The mere presence of Alliance ships was often enough to prevent conflicts. Dr. Maya Patel joined the conversation from her laboratory on Earth's moon. Behind her, human and alien scientists worked together on projects that were revolutionizing galactic technology. The research station had become a center for innovation that attracted the best minds from across the galaxy. "We have had a breakthrough in the quantum displacement project," Maya announced. "The combination of human quantum mechanics, elven dimensional magic, and cetacean space-folding mathematics has produced a new form of faster-than-light travel. We can now cross the galaxy in days instead of months." This was typical of how the Alliance worked. Instead of hoarding technology for military advantage, they shared discoveries freely among member civilizations. The result was a pace of scientific advancement that amazed even the oldest spacefaring races. High Priestess Sylviana Starweaver appeared on the screen from the elven homeworld of Etheria. Her people had opened their borders for the first time in thousands of years, welcoming refugees and diplomats from across the galaxy. The ancient elven wisdom was proving invaluable in settling disputes and building lasting peace. "The Philosophical Council has reached a decision about the Zephyrian Rehabilitation Program," Sylviana announced. "We will accept Admiral Kethera and 50 of her officers for the advanced course in cooperative leadership. If they complete the training successfully, they will be authorized to return to their people and help establish a reformed government." The rehabilitation program was one of the Alliance's most ambitious projects. Rather than simply defeating aggressive civilizations, they offered education and support to help former enemies learn new ways of thinking. It was a radical approach that many traditional military leaders thought was naive, but it had already shown impressive results. Admiral Kethera herself had been one of the first volunteers for the program. The former Zephyrian commander had spent months learning about cooperative government, shared prosperity, and peaceful conflict resolution. Her transformation from conqueror to peacemaker had inspired others to follow her example. "Admiral, we have another situation developing," reported Commander Rebecca Stone from her patrol ship near the Galactic Rim. "Long-range sensors are detecting a large fleet approaching from outside our galaxy. Configuration unknown, but they appear to be moving toward inhabited systems." Lisa felt a familiar chill. Every military commander's nightmare was the unknown enemy. The Alliance had spent months preparing defenses against known threats, but they had always known that other dangers might exist beyond their current understanding. "Size and composition of the fleet?" Lisa asked. "Approximately 500 ships," Rebecca replied. "Much larger than anything we have seen before. Technology appears to be significantly advanced. Estimated time to contact with outer colonies is 72 hours. The irony was not lost on anyone in the conversation. 72 hours was exactly the amount of time the Zephyrians had given Earth to surrender. Now the Alliance faced a potentially much greater threat with the same amount of warning. "Recommendations?" Lisa asked the assembled council. Ilara spoke first. "We should attempt communication immediately. Not all powerful civilizations are hostile. They may be refugees fleeing some other threat, or explorers seeking new trading partners." General Rodriguez added her perspective. "Agreed, but we should also prepare our defenses. The new quantum displacement drives will allow us to concentrate our entire fleet anywhere in the galaxy within hours. If they prove hostile, we can respond with overwhelming force." Dr. Patel was already working on technical solutions. "I am dispatching probe ships equipped with universal translators and peaceful contact protocols. We should know their intentions within 24 hours. Sylviana offered the wisdom of her people. "In my experience, civilizations advanced enough for intergalactic travel are either very peaceful or very dangerous. There is rarely anything in between. We must be prepared for either possibility." Lisa nodded, feeling the weight of command. 6 months ago, she had been defending a single world from a known enemy. Now she was responsible for protecting an entire galactic civilization from an unknown threat that might be far more powerful than anything they had faced before. "Very well," Lisa decided. "Ilara, prepare first contact protocols and universal peace offers. Amy, begin mobilizing the defense fleets but keep them in defensive positions. Maya, get those probe ships launched immediately. Sylviana, please consult with your seers about any insights they might have. And if they prove hostile? Commander Stone asked. Lisa looked out at the stars, thinking about how much the galaxy had changed in just 6 months. Dozens of civilizations now looked to Earth and the Alliance for protection. Millions of beings who had lived as slaves were now free. The responsibility was enormous, but so was the determination to protect what they had built. Then we remind them of the same lesson we taught the Zephyrians, Lisa said firmly. Sometimes the smallest planets have the biggest surprises, and this time we will not be alone. The communication ended, leaving Lisa alone with her thoughts on the bridge of the Harmony. Through the viewport, she could see the lights of dozens of ships from as many different worlds, all united in their commitment to freedom and cooperation. Whatever came next, they would face it together. The galaxy had looked at Earth and seen weakness. 5 minutes later, an empire had fallen and a new age had begun. Now, as they faced the unknown once again, Lisa knew that the true strength of the Alliance was not in their weapons or their technology. It was in their willingness to stand together, to share their knowledge freely, and to protect those who could not protect themselves. Whatever came from beyond the galaxy would discover what the Zephyrians had learned too late. Sometimes the greatest power comes not from conquest and domination, but from cooperation and the simple determination to do what is right. And when that power is guided by wisdom, compassion, and the unbreakable bond between allies, it can overcome any threat the universe might offer. The stars waited, holding their secrets for now. But whatever challenges lay ahead, Earth and its allies would meet them with the same courage and unity that had already changed the galaxy forever.